The word for you today. Today we are going to be in the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, beginning in verse 31. This is what many like to call the Hall of Fame of Faith. It speaks of, all these in the Old Testament, all of these in Israelite history who died, and their faith is what was considered and given to them as righteousness, right? And so in verse 31, it says very simply, it says, "By faith, Rahab the prostitute welcomed the spies in peace and didn't perish with those who were obeyed." Now, I think this is really, really interesting because the people who are mentioned mostly before, it speaks of Abraham and Moses, it speaks of Jacob and Esau, and then afterwards it speaks of Gideon and Barak and Samson and David and Samuel and these prophets. And it's really interesting because of all the names that are listed here, Rahab seems to be a little bit different, a little bit strange of an inclusion. But when we look at her story in Joshua chapter 2, her faith is just as incredible as any of these that are mentioned here. And I think mentioning her in this way is absolutely right and should be welcomed. When we read her story, so as you remember, Israel spent their time in the wilderness for turning against their God. And as he allows their children to take over the promised land, Joshua leads the people. And the first kind of stop, the first place that they have to conquer is Jericho. And remember the large walls, the marching around with trumpets. And as spies are sent into Jericho, they come to the place, the house of Rahab. And when the people of the city, I believe they were the king's men, come to the city, come to find them in Rahab's house, she hides them and protects them, puts her own life really on the line to protect them, and then says, we are terrified of your God because we've heard of what he says. Said, we believe that he is powerful, and so I have dealt kindly with you. Now please show that same mercy to me and my family. And what we see is when Jericho is conquered, her house is kept safe, and all those who were in it with her and her family. And what I find really interesting is we learn several things from her faith. Number one, her faith, her actions, were based in who God is and how powerful he is. She had faith that God was as powerful and that he had done all these things that were claimed of him. And so she responded like that was true. She dealt kindly with his people. And then what is also interesting is her faith was singular. There's no one else in the entire city of Jericho who was saved, only Rahab. And it's also no one else. I mean, they may have shared her fear, but most likely not her faith. There was no one else to share it. And you, of all people, we should know how difficult it can be to walk your faith completely on your own. I think also what we learn about her faith is it was proven by her own self-sacrifice. She put her own life on the line to hide these spies. And, I mean, it's incredibly dangerous. If they had went and found the spies, she would have been killed along with them. And then what we also see later, in different parts of Scripture, her faith sanctified her. It was the end of her sin. We see she was a prostitute. And in the biblical record, what we find is when she was saved and when Jericho was defeated, she joined the nation of Israel. She married a man from the tribe of Judah. And through her, when we look at the line, we see that through her, God brought both King David and then later Jesus Christ. Rahab is mentioned in Jesus' genealogy. And so the faith that we see here is very, very important for us to learn from. And it's just as incredible as any of the faith and any of the powerful actions shown before. See, through faith, God can redeem you even in your sin. And I think in that way, our faith should be like hers. She knows who God is and responded to him accordingly. If we know who God is, we know how great he is, how powerful he is, even how loving he is and how, how he responds to sin. We should live accordingly. In the same way, she held tight to that belief, even when it could have cost her her life. We need to do the same. And that same faith later redeemed her, sanctified her, transformed her, and our faith should be the same. So when we look at stories like this, we look at these biblical characters and the faith that it mentions. We need to look at their stories, learn from them, and try to emulate them. So, my question to you, what does your faith look like? Do you know who God is, and do you treat him like this book says that he is? Do you hold tight to your faith? Is there anything that could take it away from you? And are you being transformed? Are you being changed day by day, getting rid of your sin and moving closer and closer to the Lord? Take some time, pray, consider how you can move forward with your faith like Rahab did. Have a great day.